Welcome back, pony people. Today is September 19th, 2011, and this is the Pastel Pony Podcast. Alright, every pony, welcome back. So, in a moment of extreme derp, I recorded this already, and did not think to make sure that my microphone was the thing that was recording and started reading off of my list of things that I wanted to talk about. So I got 30 minutes in and then realized that I wasn't recording. So guys, this may have originally been a two-part episode and will now be a one-part episode because I don't feel like saying all of those things in such great detail again. In fact, I'm actually going to check and make sure that I'm recording this. And I am! Hooray! So, I wanted to talk about a bunch of different things at this point, and I'll probably sound a little rushed because I've already spent, 30 minutes on this recording that got erased. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about was differentiating voices. This is something that I've had a little bit of a problem with because I don't know if y'all are familiar with Yu Yu Hakusho, or Dragon Ball Z, or Reboot, or Cowboy Bebop, or 50 other things that I steal voices from. I've gotten fairly good at impressions because I know how to change my vocal register and my octaves, and have gotten fairly good at accent work to pin it down so that it doesn't sound perfect, but it sounds close enough that your ears don't normally pick it up. And there will be voices, like in Past Sins, where I'll combine different ones. Spike from Cowboy Bebop, who is Stephen J. Bloom, and a little bit of extra air to the wind, lungs, and a little more gravelly, but that voice is in there. Grey Gale. So, anyways, in terms of differentiating voices, I've never really... There's very few characters that I've sort of gotten comfortable enough with, that I know well enough that I would start using non-standard voices, that I would actually be willing to create a voice for. Because it takes a lot of work, and I just don't have a lot of practice at it. And after all of these fics, I'm getting more and more, and I'm constantly trying to get better. And it's gotten to the point where I'm actually comfortable enough that I'm going to start doing it. Luna in Slander, which will be posted soon, is as close to the original as I could get it, but I've never felt that that's an appropriate voice for her. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments, or agree with me and tell me, oh my god, you're so right, please recast her. But in Slander, it's close. And there are other voices, like Ditzy, who is also in Slander, that are influenced both by the single word she has, muffins, and some of the fans who have been making their own videos with her, notably the one very special lady, who I really need to learn the name of on the YouTubes, that has been doing all the Ditzy and Dinky lines. So my voice is inspired by both the original and that. And it's partially because I don't want to recast it. I think that it's so well done that I wouldn't want to mess with it. Luna, on the other hand, is so off from her character in the fanon that I would be perfectly comfortable making a new voice for her. I guess in the original recording I went into a lot more depth and sort of ranted for about 5 minutes about that, so I won't go that far into it right now, but should you be interested, poke me either in a private message or the comments, and I will make sure to go over it in more detail next week. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was the website. So, y'all are so very generous, and people have been talking about starting a drive to get the website. Now, websites are expensive, but not only am I not willing to take your money, that's not the biggest problem. I'm thinking that I will have to revisit the website issue in a couple of months because I don't know how to run one. I know how to mess with it to make it do most of what I want it to, but not the key ingredients, which is setting up an RSS feed and making the FTP server play nice with the WordPress blog. So not only do I not have the time to learn that, as long as YouTube is willing to let me keep posting large videos, and hopefully will eventually allow me to actually post long videos, I'm kind of lazy. I'm not going to lie. And here's why. I need to explain exactly what has been going into the recordings, because that's something I haven't really covered. I talked about it just a little bit in last week's Pony podcast, but not in depth. And I will go in less depth than I did in the first take here. But this is a lot different than you might think. With these recordings, much as with Cupcakes, which is how many of you found me, I didn't really do a whole lot to the recording. Maybe noise removal and maybe amplification, but that's it. That is very different from what I'm doing for Slander. For these fanfics, the edit time is roughly 4 times as long as the original recording length, which gets cut by about 30%. So, what you have is a recording for Slander, which is originally 2 hours long, with an 8-hour edit time. I've spent about 6.5 hours editing it and still have an hour to an hour and a half left to edit, because there's still 30 minutes of untouched audio. What am I getting rid of? What am I doing? Well, when you're recording for long periods of time, especially in one sitting, you have a lot of things like, I hate this recording so much, or whoo, all sorts of strange noises and things, or the dog barking, or 50 other things that need to not be in that recording. In addition to that, my voice starts hurting. You'll notice in Slander, a lot of the voices towards the end are not the same as they were at the beginning, because it became very rough on my vocal cords. So trying to normalize that out. And in addition to that, there's also times when I've got a line that needs to be re-recorded over and over and over again because I just cannot read it right, or it's got 50 commas in it and I need to take a breath, but a breath doesn't belong in there, and so I have to do some audio magic. I will never mess with the fancy things to alter my voice, because I want it to be a very organic experience. Anything that you guys hear me do with my voice is something I can do in real life. Except there are certain microphone tricks, like getting much closer and then speaking more softly, that can impact it a little bit. But I'm not going to change the pitch of it using the computer. I'm not doing any computer magic on that. But I am doing computer magic on the pacing and the timing and the breaths, because that's something you almost never hear unless it's Pinkie Pie getting ready to rant. Because it's a much cleaner recording if you don't hear me breathing or popping at the mic like that. So there's a lot of audio editing that goes into making these episodes, and that brings me round to my biggest point here. I will not be doing anything as long as Slander again in one sitting. It was 14,000 words, twice as long as the chapters for Past Sins, which is the longest thing I've recorded up till this point. I don't have enough time in my week to edit for 8 hours. That's a full work day's worth of editing, and I just don't have that time. So, if I ever get requested to, or find a fic that's amazing enough that I'm willing to do a 2-hour recording again, and then edit for another 8, I will break it up, probably in half. I'll probably do 1 hour, post it 1 week, and then post the next hour the next week. Because it's not like I'm giving you a 15-minute video. No, I'm giving you 45 minutes to an hour's worth of recording for a single week. That being said, Slander's going up at once, but that's not happening again. So, that's that. Now, I had a very long tangent in the original recording of this on the weekly review. Now, I also talked about, what I look for in fan fictions when I'm considering doing a reading. I'm going to skim over that and come back to that some other time. But suffice it to say, if it looks like Spiders is, I'm not reading it. If it's also Sweet Apple Massacre, probably not reading it on this account. Because I'm not getting the website for a while, I was considering starting up a second account for that, posting the Pony Podcast on this one, and then allowing you to go there to the second account for that week if you choose to listen. So, if you like that idea, let me know. If I get enough positive response, I will swallow my pride and create a second account specifically devoted to heavy shipping or grimdark. Assuming that I can stand to read through it. Now, the other thing is that a lot of people have been sending me fics to read. I've been reading a lot. I go to work, I record, I edit the audio, and I read fanfics, and I see my friends once a week, and that's all I do. That, I have been told that this is burning me out. It may, until it does. I'm not taking breaks, because I don't need breaks, yet. I get enough of a break, most days. So, that being said, people have been sending me a lot to read, including stuff that's not pony fics. I'm not going to be reading non-pony stuff right now. Maybe eventually, especially if you guys like the idea, but for now, I'm not. Now, what have I been reading pony-wise? I've been reading Storms on the Horizon, which is kind of like On Feathered Wings, very, very good, except that it doesn't have too much shipping. It's about storms emanating from the Everfree Forest, Twilight, and the girls are in Canterlot, except for Fluttershy and AJ, who had to stay in Ponyville to tend to their duties. But a storm rolls through Ponyville, and all of a sudden there are break-ins at every pony's house that had an element of harmony. And then there's this mysterious, we don't know who yet, but some pony got hurt in Canterlot while they were on the trip, so AJ and Fluttershy are rushing to Canterlot. Either way, really cool, definitely recommend it, along with all of those fics that PatTap3 recommended last week. Well, much longer ago in real time, but for y'all that listen to the podcast. Luna's Gift, A Night to Remember, Tonight I Shall Be Laughter, and The Misadventures of Luna were all great, and I may eventually come back to some of them. I've been reading Sepia Talk, too, which has started to gain more than just a plot and good characters. It started to gain some action, and it's getting really, really cool. Anyone who likes Doctor Who, or Adventure Fix, or anything, honestly, just go read it. It's awesome. And I've also been reading Common Sky, which was recommended to me. I don't know whether or not I'll be recording it, but I am really falling in love with it as far as the story is concerned. It was a little rocky starting off, but now it's gotten just really phenomenal. I know I've been reading other things. I'm tired. I've forgotten what they are at this point. But that being said, good stuff, and I'm sure I will have more for you. In addition to that, I am announcing a special one that I will probably be recording called All Hallows Eve. I saw it a couple of weeks ago. It's been on my list, and I've just gotten to the point where I've decided that near Halloween I will be recording that one. It's about a Halloween in Ponyville for the Cutie Mark Crusaders, and it was just adorable, and I really enjoyed it. So I'll probably be going back to that. Now, at this point, I've also been reading The Hourglass Society and Fell Into the Right Hooves, which one was recommended, one I just happened to see on Equestria Daily. Plus, one of our very own listeners, watchers, viewers, whatever, has been starting a Cupcakes prequel, which, although in need of a little bit of editing, grammatically speaking, I haven't finished it yet, but it's well written, and I don't know, it's interesting. It's delving as far. I haven't gotten that far, but it's delving into Pinkie Pie's past and psychology, and it looks interesting. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, I've decided I'm leaving for next week because I'm tired and running out of time. But I want to eventually come back to the phenomenon of mutual inspiration. For example, music inspiring a fic, or art inspiring a fic, or a fic inspiring art. I think it's sort of created this perpetual motion machine, which is what's driving the fan base, what's keeping it alive, and did keep it alive, regardless of every pony's expectations over the summer. I'm not going to lie, given everything I've done in the past couple weeks, I see how this is continuing to go, but when I first watched it, I needed more, and there was just the fan base. And so I found it, and I kept going, and then there was just all this stuff, and it just exploded creativity-wise. And I thought that it would have to die at some point, but it just hasn't. And I think that that phenomenon of mutual inspiration is what's keeping it going. So I want to come back to that at some point. But before I get to the spoiler section of this, I want to say a very special thank you to all of you guys who have been subscribing or listening and not subscribing. It doesn't really matter to me because you guys are actually listening. And I just want to thank my audience on all fronts. I want to thank every pony who's been listening and commenting and sending me more fics and being pleased with the recordings. But I also want to thank some of the other people who have gone above and beyond that. Bronode, I don't think he even listens to this, but he's been helping me with my little enterprise. Without him, I really wouldn't have quite the quality of fics that I do, because to be honest, it's been a while since I watched Star Trek, and it's been even longer since I was in tune enough with it that I could catch most of the things that would make the nerdlings rage. Which, I consider myself one, so don't take offense to that if you are also a nerd. I have a 42 on one arm and the Dragon of the Darkness flame on the other, so I am the uber geek. But, that being said, without Bronode, that fic would not be of the caliber that it is. And without ponies like P3E03 and Cody and a bunch of other ponies, there's a lot of fics that would fall by the wayside that I wouldn't have given the chance that they deserved, and turned out to be some of the best ones I've read. For example, I'm only a chapter and a half into Common Sky, but it's one of the better ones that I've seen. And I'm happy to see stuff like that, and I wanted to thank you guys. So now that that moment of sappiness is over, we come to the very end of this Pastel Pony podcast and to the spoilers section, where I review Season 2, Episode 1. Alright guys, do you think I should be Trollestia and just stop the recording right here? I thought about it. That being said, I really enjoyed it. I laughed. I don't laugh often. I chuckle or smile, but I don't outright laugh. Hardly ever. And that episode made me laugh at least 3 or 4 times. Also, more spoilers are coming! So if you haven't watched the episode, so you can turn it off now if you've decided that you don't want to hear what I have to say yet. Or ever. But that would make me so sad. Anyways, they had talked about how they wouldn't be doing very blatant things for the bronies, but they would put small things here or there. But after seeing Chocolate Rain, and what I assume to be the Thriller dance at some point, or the Hammer dance, maybe it must have been the Hammer dance, but either way, no, not the Hammer dance, I don't know, there was some kind of dance that I recognized, and the Chocolate Rain thing, and there was just so much, it was ridiculous. Also, the balloons were creepy and hilarious, and I saw one that looked like that in my work today, and it creeped me out. I wanted to take a picture and I forgot. But it's not just a boulder. It's a rock. I just can't believe that her second destiny, regardless of status as an element of generosity, is a rock. And that was amazing. There's so much. I'm being deliberately vague here because I could talk far more. I could be more detailed. But anyways, that being said, it's a great episode. I look forward to seeing more. I know it was part of season 1 though, originally. So I'm interested to see episode 3. I was so sad about the cliffhanger, but it's understandable. I just wish they'd release them on the same day. Also, Q from Star Trek. Q from Star Trek was the voice of Discord. Some pony go write a fic about Discord and Q being Star Trek-y. Oh wait, that's my job. Curses. Oh well. It will get written eventually. But, point being, it was a really fantastic episode. It was on par with, if not better than, many of the episodes in Season 1. The original Season 1. It had strange seasoning. Seasoning. Just like Mrs. Dash. Which is, you know, a salt shaker with rainbow hair. But, tangents aside, it was good, and I look forward to seeing what happens when Lauren Faust isn't involved at all in episode 3. Thank you guys for sticking around. I will be back with the Pastel Pony podcast again next week. And next week's fic will likely be Past Sins 1, followed by So Long and Thanks for All the Ponies, Chapter 7. And exciting news, if you haven't noticed yet, take a look at the time on the video. As of this morning, my account was upgraded so I can add longer videos now and hopefully won't have to break apart these giant recordings anymore. This is Vos de Sueños signing off. Have a great night.